What is up, guys? Wrestling Premier is here. Okay, another one of these pay-per-views. I enjoyed this one, honestly. I liked how there was only 6 matches on the card. 2 of those were absolute classics. 2 featured shocking results. The time flew by easily for the most part. And sure, Slapjack might have been deserving of championship gold, but I could easily say this was a good pay-per-view. One thing I really loved about this pay-per-view is the fact that I kind of look forward to nearly every single story coming out of it. That's what I really loved. Now, in these videos, I just state my opinion, that's all. It's not as detailed as the other pay-per-view reviews because, well, the action's kind of fresh, that's why. Before this video starts, let me just say that Eminem video is the next one. I'm taking my time with it. It's like 36, 37, 35 minutes, something around there. I don't know how it's that long, but yeah, it is, and I'm going to work on it, so expect it to be the next video, hopefully. Right now, let's get into it. The first and only match on the kickoff show was between R-Truth and Drew Gulak for the 24/7 championship. I loved how in the beginning, Truth was playing with little Jimmy. Right when Drew asks him if that's him, his smile slowly fades away, and it seemed like he knew what was up. Gulak threw him out of the ring, and the match begins. He tried implementing submission holds on the left leg, and he was looking to isolate it. The work wouldn't really damage Truth's leg, I guess, and he quickly bounced back with the 3 moves of doom, channeling his childhood hero, John Cena. Gulak took back control by finding his shoulders down on the mat, and Truth retained the title. After the match, a bunch of stars chased down the champ, and Drew took the time to go up to the kickoff panel and say that R-Truth's childhood hero, John Cena, sucks. What did John Cena do to Drew Gulak? I don't know. Now, the match itself was just there. I wasn't expecting much. I liked some movements here and there, but the action was just average for the most part. Okay, and now it's time for the official pay-per-view, which I mostly enjoyed. The first official match was for the Universal Championship. Roman Reigns defends the title against Jey Uso in a Hell in a Cell I Quit match. Now, before I talk about the match itself, I find it weird how it was a Hell in a Cell and an I Quit match. It was like one of those match creator things in the WWE games, basically. I think this match would have worked out well regardless of the cell, but for some reason Roman wanted it, and that's what he got. So yeah, the damn tribal chief. I don't know how, but Roman is definitely the very best thing in WWE, as weird as it may sound, but that's 2020 for you. I just think it's a shame that it had to occur in times like these rather than in, say, 2017, but hey, better late than never, I guess. Going into this match, I'd say there was a 99% chance that Roman was going to retain. Jey was obviously going to fight for his life because the stipulation is that if he loses, he's out of the family. His brother, his wife, his kids' kids out. Now, if you're looking at this match from an in-ring standpoint, it isn't anything special, but this wasn't just any ordinary match. It featured storytelling once more. That's what made their last match a classic, and that's why this one was so damn awesome. Jey was no slouch, but he was in there with Roman Reigns, who was the champion of Smackdown. Like, as good as Jey may be, Roman was just a hell of a lot better. The dialogue in the match, it adds so much. Reigns was asserting his dominance verbally and physically. You know, he had 2 spears. He's not really bragging. He's telling him to stay down and whatnot. That's another thing that makes this match tremendous. How they're speaking to one another. You could hear what they're saying. I really love that. The facial expressions Roman gave throughout the match, once again, amazing. And Jey Uso, on the other hand, he wasn't quitting. He even fought back, hit a couple of frog splashes. But Roman, on the other hand, he wasn't going to say that word either. He said to himself, the head of the family never quits. Then it turned into a strap match, apparently, so we got a 3-for-1 special, you know. Reigns hit another spear, but Jey didn't say those words. Hell, he bounced back and used the strap to choke out Roman. And for some reason, while watching this, I thought it was going to go Jey's way. There was a little feeling towards that. I mean, as untrue as that may sound, there was like that little glimmer of belief that maybe he was actually going to win. But it wasn't to be, obviously. Roman had an emotionless look on his face, like, I don't want to do it, but I must. Something along the lines of that. He had 2 drive-bys and 1 with the steel steps. The ref, I could still hear him in my sleep. You know, just say I quit. Now, while this was going on, and there was a fear that the cell match for the 3rd year in a row would end with a controversial finish. Roman, though, threw out the ref in order to prevent that, and a couple of officials came out to stop him from inflicting damage. But that wasn't enough. He was about to send the steel steps right into the heart of Jey Uso, but Jimmy came out in this moment itself. Took me in completely like no match has this year, no lie. Roman shed tears and it seemed like he finally showed mercy and compassion. Tears are in his eyes, he felt remorse, regretted his actions, but then he caught Jimmy with the guillotine choke, and that was enough for Jey to shout, I quit. Not because of all the pain his cousin inflicted, but because he wanted to save his brother. And I'll be damned, in my eyes, they managed to topple last month's match. Did it go on a little too long? Maybe. But it was such a great story. I really loved that. My eyes were on the screen the entire time when Roman was killing his cousin. And Roman, to stoop that low, guillotine on his injured cousin, come on. Oh, and there's Afonseca. Everything about this match was excellent. Reigns kicked the Usos right out of the family. And we're still continuing to learn what kind of man Roman is. It's not like he's the you people type. He has his reasons for becoming this kind of man. He wanted his family to remain at the top, and so he'll do anything to keep them there, basically. That's not the only reason why he is like this, but that's one of the reasons. I'm so looking forward to where the Tribal Chief goes from here on, be it KO, Bryan, hell, Jimmy Uso later. I'm interested. The next match was between Jeff Hardy and Elias. Now, for some reason, Elias still believes Jeff was the one who crashed into him back in June, and he was out for revenge. Once again, he's a heel, and I guess that's where he works well. Throughout the match, Elias took control. Jeff dodged the countout loss. Elias continued dictating the pace until Jeff made a comeback. Elias had a powerbomb of sorts, but Jeff quickly bounced back with a whisper in the wind and the twist of fate. Hardy considered a swanton onto Elias, who was on the apron, and honestly, I thought he was going to do it, which is kind of ridiculous in itself. Elias ran out, grabbed the guitar, but it was smashed over his head, and Jeff lost by DQ. I didn't really like this match, honestly. It just didn't click for me. I wonder where the story goes from here on, though, so yeah. The next match is for the Money in the Bank briefcase. The Miz challenges Otis for that briefcase. Now, personally, I like that Law and Otis segment. It gave me flashbacks to the trial of Eric Bischoff episode of Raw, back in 2005. The Miz, he bribed JBL in order to get a satisfactory ruling, a ruling in his favor, and that's how this match was made. Personally, I felt the action was decent. I was very into the match due to the results at hand, and if it wasn't for the stipulation, I don't think I would have enjoyed the match as much as I did. Morrison was clean-shaven, which is quite bizarre, and I'm convinced we found a way back to 2010. With that said, I believe the match could have gone any way. Morrison did something dumb, and he was ejected. Otis goes for a roll-up, hits a discus clothesline. Then he tried dragging Miz to the middle of the ring. The ref's distracted, and Tucker, his tag team partner, blasts the living daylights out of Otis with a Money in the Bank briefcase. Michael Cole was in utter shock, and Miz was Mr. Money in the Bank. Like, what the hell is going on? Tucky, how dare you? But seriously, though, I think everybody expected something along the lines of this. Like, ever since Otis won the briefcase, he was never the same. Some thought Miz winning was stupid, but I personally want to see him with the briefcase. He's probably going to gain confidence, and if he successfully cashes in, we might be in for a John Morrison feud, and who knows, maybe he finally captures the title. Also, I don't know why they have to split heavy machinery. They love splitting teams. Why can't they let teams go their separate ways on good terms? Like Ryback, or why do they have to do that? Now poor Tucker, he's gonna fall down the card. Otis, who knows, he might even fall too. He might even be in backstage segments from here on. Who knows? I don't think it looks optimistic for those two in the future. That's what I think. Yes, decent match that was elevated by this stipulation. It gave me a reason to care. In the back, The Miz promised to not squander this opportunity. He warned both world champions, stating that if he cashed it in once, he could do it again. Tucker then explained why he did what he did. And his reasoning, because I was an afterthought. Nobody cares about me. I'm the one in the back who's helping him tie his shoes or whatever. Otis then ran in there and brawled with Tucky. The next match was for the Smackdown Women's Championship. Sasha Banks, the Boss, challenges Bayley for the title. At this point, Bayley has been champion for 380 days. I remember people initially thought her title reign sucked, and it took some time, but I think it's been a good run. With that said, Bayley's chair was thrown out right in the beginning. The champ found herself in the bank statement very early on. Then they made their way to the outside, and this is where most of the action occurred during this part of the match. They brought out weapons. Sasha had a crazy-looking Meteora, only to hit another 10 seconds later. Banks was very elusive of Bayley's offense, and at some points she was hopping around like Spider-Man. Then they brought in the kendo sticks. This gave way to Bayley finally gaining some sustainable offense in, using a chair to her advantage, and Sasha was just creative on offense. Bayley got a sunset flip into the chair before hitting a flying elbow. The match, it was really fun, it was violent, it was entertaining, it was tremendous, it was something. I could go on and on about how great the match is. I love that moment where Bayley asked the ref to help with the duct tape. He shouted at her something. It was hilarious. And for some reason, they returned to the kendo sticks. The intensity kicked into another gear. Sasha went ballistic. Another Meteora, and Bayley was finally getting what's coming to her. She showed no compassion, no remorse, no mercy for her ex-friend. The champ brought out a ladder. She placed the Boss on the ladder, which was on top of two chairs, and spray-painted X on her abdomen. You know, X marks the spot. Sasha moved out of the way. Meteora, Bayley to belly, but that's not enough. The champ herself hit that same move, but it wasn't enough to end this thing. It was a war of sorts. Looking at Bayley, it's hard to think that that's the same person. Needs to be the fun-loving girl. She made the mistake of holding a chair in hand as Sasha caught her off guard with a bank statement, using the chair also, and Bayley tapped out. R.I.P. 380 days. Damn. And now Sasha is once again champion. But the question is, can she retain the title? We all know she can win it, but can she keep it? Who knows? This feud could go either way. It could end right now. It could continue up until WrestleMania. Imagine Sasha loses the title on her first title defense again. She had to go and win the Rumble, then face her at WrestleMania. Maybe that's what happens, but who knows? Either way, this was probably the match of the night. It wasn't my favorite. That was the Roman and Jay match. But I can objectively say this might have been the best one. These two, they can't do any wrong. The matches they had in NXT main roster, they're always great to amazing to legendary. And this one is no different. Backstage, the Hurt Business accepted Retribution's challenge. It was going to be one-on-one Bobby Lashley versus one of the members of the Retribution, the guy with the mask, that's what they called him, for the U.S. title. Now, going into this match, I had a feeling that one of the guys is going to win the gold. I don't know why, but that's what I thought. Lashley dominated the masked man initially. He made him look like enhancement talent. And Slapjack, he got a cannonball. He had a spinning DDT from out of nowhere, and this got him a 2 count. Lashley wouldn't remain defensive for long, and he had a little comeback sequence, slammed him 8 feet in the air before locking in the Hurt Lock, forcing him to tap. Immediately afterwards, Retribution attacked. This whole thing, it just ended up going nowhere as the Hurt Business made this safe to send them running. The match itself, I don't even think it was that long. It was just there, and I felt like it was all about advancing the story, possibly for Survivor Series. But yeah, I thought Slapjack was going to win this one, but he didn't. I thought he was going to win with the help of Retribution, but that wasn't to be. And the main event, Drew McIntyre defends the WWE Championship against Randy Orton in a Hell in a Cell match. Finally, Drew main events. Looking at the title picture, I think it will be interesting to see where it goes afterwards. Now, Drew's title reign, I'd say it was good. Obviously, it probably would have been better had there been a crowd, but it is what it is. Like, the matches he had, they were pretty great on pay-per-view. He had a good match against Dolph Ziggler, Seth Rollins. I like that Bobby Lashley match. Yeah, all the matches he had on pay-per-view, they were hits in my eyes. Anyways, with that said, while Drew was making his entrance, Orton was up to some sneaky tactics. The two brawled outside the cell, and things settled once Drew shut that door. Orton was being punished in the beginning, and it seemed like he lacked the experience despite being in like 5 Hell in a Cell matches. It was completely one-sided, but at a moment's notice, the Viper unleashed hell. He targeted that jaw with a chair, and the pace was anything but quick. He finally took off those pants, and it honestly just seemed unnatural to see him wearing them. Trash talking from Orton there. There was a piped in booze, and he was the clear aggressor at this point. Every moment Drew had some fight in him, the challenger finds a way to weather the storm. That is until a few minutes later. McIntyre had a burst of momentum, the pace quickened, they brawled to the outside, and the table Orton set up earlier, well, he ended up going through it. McIntyre delivered some stern words, and this amounted to nothing as Orton caught him and hit a second rope DDT, and it was at this moment where Orton had a great idea. He wanted to open the cell door. Now, I'm not sure this was a tactic because he wanted to walk away initially. Drew caught up to him and bounced him off barricades, and the Viper fought back and decided to climb the cell. Okay, this is where it gets good. He ascended to the top, and McIntyre was stoked at this idea despite the thought of himself getting thrown off. And once Orton climbed up there, I thought he discovered a lightsaber. Drew's leg was a big disadvantage. Both men hung from the side of the cell, back and forth until Drew fell from the heavens, or 10 feet. McIntyre suffered internal bleeding, and Randy had a smug look on his face. The champ, though, was resilient, and while he could barely crawl, let alone walk, he refused to stay down. Orton slowly stalked the champion, and it felt like it was a foregone conclusion, but Orton screwed up and ate a claymore. Luckily, the challenger fell to the outside. McIntyre dragged Orton's carcass back in, and it was time for number 2, except it wasn't to be because it was RKO time. 1, 2, 3. Damn, it feels so long ago that Orton held the world title. The title reign itself that he had 3 years ago was so damn forgettable, but yeah. Time for number 14. This one might be better. Overall, the match, good. At some points, it was kind of plotting, and it was the weakest cell match in my opinion. It did kind of drag on at some points, but it was kind of good, I guess. That's what I'd say. One thing that I liked about the event was the fact that every cell match was different to one another. This was definitely the weakest cell match, but it was like the 3rd best match on the card, so there's that. I'm looking forward to Orton's title reign. We'll see where it goes from here on. Overall, Hell in a Cell was a good-ass pay-per-view. It was easy to watch. The matches, except for 2 of them, were good. Sort of good. My favorite match was Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns, but the best match was definitely Sasha versus Bayley. They gave a tremendous conclusion to the year-long story. I don't know if it will continue. The visual of Sasha sitting there in a very emotional state sticks in my mind like, look what you made me do. It's like she felt some remorse. She didn't really want to go that far, but she had to in order to win. Drew and Orton match felt like a finale, although by the looks of it, Drew's not finished with Randy. Like, you look at that image at the end, it seems like Drew is going to face Randy once more. Roman and Jay, I just loved it. It was some great stuff. Roman's facial expressions on this night were second to none. What do you guys think of Hell in a Cell? Please comment down below. And that's your first video. Make sure you hit a claymore on the like button and perhaps the Superman punch on the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.